Hello, my name is Eleni, and today I'm going to teach you how to do a very simple but elegant egg technique for Easter decorating. This is a technique that my mom used growing up in our Greek household. It's making traditional Greek red eggs, and traditionally they're dyed red because that is the blood of Christ. So that's why they're dyed red. My mom, what she used to do is put these herbs on them so that you could create this nice little kind of stencil mark on the egg, and that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. So I'm going to set these aside for now. And basically what you do is you take already hard-boiled eggs, white or brown. I'm going to do both today to show you the difference, but what I find is that if you use a brown egg and you have a dark color like red that you want it to be really rich, the brown eggs tend to actually work better than the white eggs. So all you need for this is hard-boiled eggs, like I mentioned, herbs, pantyhose, and some dye, of course. And we have some water boiling that's going to take in the dye and the vinegar that we're going to soak the eggs in later. But for now, I'm going to show you the technique. So basically, you go buy yourself some of the cheapest, pantyhose you can find. Cut off the legs into sort of a rectangular piece, enough to fit the egg. Put the egg in the middle, and what I've done here is I've taken a piece of a parsley leaf, and that's going to be our stencil. So I put that on there. And you can use whatever herbs you like. You can use sage, you can use mint, rosemary, you can experiment. I found that parsley works nicely because it has a very distinct shape and you can see it in the finished product. So you end up having to put that on the bottom like that, and it's as easy as then pulling up all the edges, and you can see the egg is just so, and you just tie it. So can be a little bit tricky sometimes, and just make sure it's tight enough that everything stays in place, and then that's it, you're done. So now we move on to another egg, and I'll take the brown, and here's another piece of the pantyhose, and we're going to cut off a piece of a leaf here, and whoops, lay that down. And again, you just pull it up. And you just keep going until you're done with all the eggs. Today we're going to do about half a dozen. I think that's a good amount because sometimes you want to do different colored eggs. So I feel like half a dozen in one color is a good amount to go with. And I'm just going to finish up the rest of the eggs, and then I'll show you what to do with the water and the egg dye. Okay, so now I've wrapped all the eggs. So I have 6 eggs here, all wrapped up, ready to go. The water has been boiled, so now that it's boiled, what we do is we add the vinegar and we add the dye. And one rule of thumb is that I found through experimenting with this is you need enough water to cover the eggs so that they can steep in the dye and then get completely covered in that rich red color. And what typically works is a cup of water per egg. So I have 6 eggs, so I got about 6 cups of water here. And the vinegar you put in is a tablespoon of vinegar per cup. So we'll put 6 tablespoons of vinegar. 2, 3. Done with the vinegar. And then the dye. So this, I've experimented a little bit with this as well. And I find that if you follow the manufacturer instructions, it's not quite enough dye. So I find that if you use about even 2 to 4 teaspoons of dye per cup of water, that seems to be like a nice rich color. And it may sound like a lot, but you can experiment, because if you use a little bit less, they'll come out pink, and if you use more, the richer the color red will be. So I'm going to go for it and just put more. 2. And that's it. So now all we do is, let's lay this down, take our eggs, put them in the bowl. Make sure you have a bowl where they kind of fit nicely. They're not too snug. And just lay them all in there. And we basically, all we're going to do is take this and cover them. And that seems just about right. So we had some extra water, that's all right. Depends on the bowl that you have, if you have a deeper bowl or kind of a flat, wider bowl. And then all we're gonna do is leave them in here for about, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes, just until the water cools. That's about as much as that they'll set, as far as how much color you've put in there. And then we'll come back when they're cooled and I'll show you how to take them apart and dry them and display them. So the eggs are done soaking in the water and they sat in there for about 30 minutes and they look nice and red. And what would be good to do is, I have a dish under here with some paper towels. The dye can penetrate through other things, so just to be careful and kind of keep all your other items intact, I would just put a paper towel down on like a plate or something like that. So it's easy enough. You just kind of take the edge of it, take your kitchen shears, and then just slowly take off the hose. And you'll see it'll be a little bit wet. Just set them aside. They'll need just a few more minutes to dry. And then I'll show you what you can do. And that's it. Just let them air dry a little bit. They'll dry fairly quickly, probably within like 5 minutes or so. Just want to have all the dye kind of set in. And then I'll show you how to take the leaves off. So the eggs are all dry now, and we can just slowly start peeling the leaf. And you'll see, obviously, this was a white egg. And you get the stamped leaf on there. And then you'll notice it's a tiny bit wet. Just let it sort of sit. This was the brown egg. So it's kind of cool because the brown egg looks much more rustic. And with the white, you can see more of the shape. It really kind of stands through. The other thing is with the white eggs is the dye doesn't look as deep red as it does on the brown. So it's kind of cool to experiment with the dye and how long you want to leave things in there for, because like I mentioned earlier, it does make a difference with some of the white eggs. If you're going to use those, they don't get as red, but the brown ones, you don't need to leave them in as long. Okay. And then another trick that my mom would do is, now that they're dry, we'll take this one for instance, take a little bit of olive oil. If you don't have olive oil, it's okay. You can use vegetable oil. The idea is here is to just dab it in a little bit of cotton and just cover the egg. And it just makes it just kind of nice and shiny and pretty. That's it.